welcome here Dr. Maite García Fernández de Barrena. She's a principal investigator of the pathology group that is centered on molecular mechanisms and targets in hepatic carcinogenesis in CIMA, in the Research Center of Pamplona. And her research over 19 years has been broadly focused in cellular and molecular mechanisms involved in chronic liver disease progression and tumor development in hepatic cancer and also in pancreatic tumors. She did her PhD in University of Navarra, then she did some years as postdoctoral fellow in Mayo Clinic in USA, and since 2014 she went back to CIMA, to Pamplona, where she started her new line of research on studies on epigenetic mechanisms of liver disease. It's my particular pleasure to have here Maite, because I was her fellow as a PhD student, her first PhD student, so I can also say that she's, besides an amazing researcher, she's a great mentor and a better person, so I'm really, really happy to have her here today and looking forward for her talk. So, Maite.
So thank you, Marina. Thank you very much for this introduction. Thank you very much to CIBER, to the organizers of these liver seminars. I have the pleasure to be here. I've always been attending the fantastic talks that are presented in these seminars, and today I have the honor to be part of them. So I would like to share with you an overview of the epigenetic mechanisms that are governing main events in hepatocellular carcinoma and how these epigenetic mechanisms can constitute new epigenetic therapeutic targets in this disease. So talking about epigenetic mechanisms, we can say that are changes, heritable changes in pattern of gene expressions that are not going to change the primary nucleotide sequence of DNA. So in a very simple way, it's a manner to control the gene expression, to increase the transcription or silence the transcription. If we think about the epigenetics, it's a very well-coordinated mechanisms that are going to govern the final decision of every single cell in the body. So since a stem cell that is going to differentiate in an hepatic cells, we can talk about how these mechanisms are going to control all the different aspects of every single cell. So we can think about the epigenetic regulation of an hepatocyte, of a liver sinusoidal endothelial cells, of a stellate cells. So these kind of mechanisms, I always like to present these pictures just to have in mind how the epigenetic mechanisms are going to control the chromatin extractor, and I'm going to dictate the permission or not to the transcription machinery to enter into the DNA and start to transcribe the genes. So these well-organized mechanisms are going to control the balance in the cell, but when these mechanisms are disrupted, are gonna allow the disease progression. And this is what occurs in hepatocellular carcinoma, as in many chronic different studies, as we will see during the talk. To summarize an overview of how are the different epigenetic mechanisms, we can mention that are DNA methylation, that is the methylation in a specific point in the cytosine into the DNA. Okay, when the DNA is methylated, if it's in the promoted regions of the genes, can silence the gene, mainly by mechanisms of interruption of the transcription factor binding to the DNA, or maybe in a close conformation of the chromatin, but also there are histone modifications that are going to be modification mainly in the amino acid tail of the histones, many different histone modifications that are going to change these chromatin extractors, and many other different mechanisms such as microRNAs or long non-coding RNAs that we are going to not talk today, but are very implicated in this epigenetic regulation. So we have to talk also about very important players in this process that are the epigenetic effectors, because all these epigenetic mechanisms are going to take place thanks to different epigenetic enzymes that are classified in families like writers that are the ones that are going to put the mark well into the DNA or well in the histones, such as DNA methyltransferases or histone acetyltransferases, histone methyltransferases, erasers that are other class of epigenetic enzymes that are going to remove the mark in the histone or in the DNA, such as DNA demethylases, histone demethylases, histone deacetylases, and also a family of readers that are proteins that are going to recognize the mark and are going to interact with other proteins and perform different functions and different outcomes. So I would like also to put this kind of effectors such as football team is like to all these effectors has to cooperate in a very well coordinated manner, because if one of these effectors are dysregulated, are going to change the play. So what happens in a chronic liver damage or when is an hepatocellular carcinoma development? So all these epigenetic events are going to be altered during the progression of the chronic liver disease and hepatocarcinogenesis. And for us and for during many years, it's very important to know how all this machinery is dysregulated in order to know very well the biology and the progression of the tumor. So in the literature, more and more indications show how, for example, up to 50% of the ACC tumors present mutation in epigenetic effectors. Along the progression of the chronic liver disease and ACC development, there are multiple DNA methylation alteration. Mainly there is an global hypomethylation, but also a specific hypermethylation in the promoter of specific genes, mainly tumor suppressor genes, but also many different post-translational alteration and alteration also in aberrant expression of these epigenetic effectors. So this is very well described how most of these epigenetic effectors are altered. So we can here show examples how two writers are completely altered in the hepatocellular carcinoma development. Examples are all these writers that are aberrantly expressed in ACC, such as GNA, that is a histone methyltransferase that we will talk later, or other writers like Polycon, ECH2 methyltransferases that are going to overexpress, are going to be overexpressed in the tumor and are going to cause different effects. For example, we can mention that this Polycon that is regulated and will be involved in repressed tumor suppressor genes are participating in the more aggressive phenotype of the tumors. On the contrary, there are also epigenetic writers that are going to be downregulators and are going to contribute to this malignant phenotype. Many examples, different examples about erasers. There are many of these erasers are regulated in hepatocellular carcinoma, such as many histone deacetylases or downregulations of many other erasers. And more examples about readers. All these readers are also show increased expression levels in this tumor, are going to cause many properties that confer advantages to the tumor, and many others that will be downregulated. So in this scenario, it's really important to know how all these epigenetic events take place, and interestingly, all these mechanisms are reversible in the sense that according to this epigenetic machinery that are going to add, remove, read, many different epigenetic inhibitors have been developed. As you can see here in the slides, many, especially HDAC inhibitors, such as valemetostat or histone methyltransferase inhibitors, demethylase inhibitors, DNA methyltransferase inhibitors, and are very potent tools to combat the tumorigenesis. Many of these compounds have been approved by FDA, but in hematological malignancies. The problem is that in solid tumors, such as hepatocellular carcinoma, they present different challenges. The characteristics of the hepatocellular carcinoma, this tumor with so great tumor heterogeneity, high cellular differentiation, are in many circumstances causing toxicities or causing resistance. But there are many trials that are trying to prove these epigenetic inhibitors in different studies. We can show different studies with DNNT1 inhibitors, HDAT inhibitors, and now the idea will be to combine this inhibitor with current therapies or try to analyze the vulnerabilities of the tumoral cells, trying to combine in two different epigenetic inhibitors at the same time, or analyzing the systemic lethality in the sense that, for example, there are inhibitors that have been testing the inhibition of readers like BRD4 in combination with tumors that are mutated in chromatin remodelers and causing very high effectivity. So I would like to show one of the studies in the lab that in our case, we wanted to know in every single detail how all these epigenetic effectors are modulated. So I would like to show you the work presented by Borja, that is a PhD student that already defended his PhD thesis, that he performed an exhaustive analysis combining 257 epigenetic genes, analyzing by families the different writers, erasers, readers. You can see in the table different DNNTs, arginine methyltransferases, the methylases. So in a very well-curated list, because he analyzed not only literature describing this gene, but also analyzing in detail their specific epigenetic activity. So analyzing in public databases of many different hepatocellular carcinoma, he was analyzing in detail all these epigenetic effectors. As you can see here, although the heat map is really small, what we can see is aberrant expression in different scenarios in hepatocellular carcinoma, and how many of these epigenetic effectors that are described are consistently aberrantly expressed in the tumor, but he was able to analyze in very well detail many others that we don't know already yet the function that can be altered and can be susceptible to constitute a new target. So with this analysis, Borja was able to analyze many epigenetic genes that change their expression according to different patients' cohorts, many epigenetic effectors that were downregulated. For example, in an analysis that he performs with the TCGA database through a hierarchical clustering analysis, he was able to subclassify different patients according to the different signatures relevant to transcriptional expression of these epigenetic effectors. Interestingly, when we subclassify these subgroups of EpiG classification patients, many of them presented different poor survivals, indicating that can be a very good manner to predictive or to analyze the aggressiveness of this patient. But accordingly, these subgroups with poor overall survival presented a poor tumor stage or poor histological grade. If we think about the knowledge of these epigenetic effectors and how we combined with the current therapies that are now in hepatocellular carcinoma, one of the things that we wanted to analyze was the potential combination that epigenetic therapy presents with the current immunotherapy that actually is performing systemic therapy for hepatocellular carcinoma. So now, in the era of immunocheckpoint inhibitors, such as the use of atezolizumab plus bevacizumab, there are many layers of evidence that with all these immunocheckpoints inhibitors developed, perhaps maybe the epigenetic events are playing an important role in all these processes. To taking into consideration the how these epigenetic, immune checkpoint inhibitor are playing according to the different scenarios that take place in the tumor and in the tumor microenvironment within the hepatocellular carcinoma, we have to have in mind that many of the patients that are treated with immuno checkpoint inhibitors do not respond to this therapy. This is because the hepatocellular carcinoma develop many immune evasion mechanisms that can be, for example, mutation or altered expression of antigen-presenting molecules in the tumor cells, so imperantigen presentation, so alteration in the tumor microenvironment in terms of secretion of immunosuppressing cytokines by tumor cells. In the hepatocellular carcinoma, there also exists a poor traffic of T cells to tumor sites, insufficient tumor recognition, the presence of other immunosuppressive cells during the tumor microenvironment, or, for example, severe T cell exhaustion in the cell. So if we think about in how the epigenetic process can be involved, there are many more recent evidences that all these evasion mechanisms that are taking place in hepatocellular carcinoma are also governed by this kind of mechanisms. So if we look this beautiful picture about how is the scenario, when we found a tumor, we have many populations that are playing a role, a pro-tumoral role within the tumor microenvironment. We can see the participation of specific evasive immune population that allow the tumor growth, such as myeloid-derived tumor cells or macrophages permissive in the M2 state, or different another population of evasive cells, but also there are another cells that are playing a role, antitumoral role, such as are the CD8 T lymphocytes or M1 macrophages. So the role of the epigenetics in all these things are playing an important role. If we think about epigenetic events that take place, for example, in the tumoral cell, tumoral develop many epigenetic aberrations that are going to coordinate specific signals directly to the tumor microenvironment in order to evade this immune evasive mechanism. For example, there are evidences that many epigenetic effectors are silencing the expression of many attractive chemokines that are going to recruit T lymphocytes, or, for example, the presence of other epigenetic effectors that play in a role increasing the secretion of TGF-beta, as we know that is an immunosuppressive cytokine. But in this sense, there are many other evidences that not only epigenetics are playing a role in the tumoral cell, but also in the different compartment or population of the tumor microenvironment. For example, there are many effectors that, if we look directly in the tumor-associated macrophages, for example, are increasing the expression of genes such as arginase 1 that are going to conform this M2 phenotype, or are going to increase genes that are going to contribute to the development of this myeloid suppressor cell population, or, for example, mechanisms to increase the T cell exhaustion. So in this scenario, there are many different experimental studies that are starting to employ different combination of epigenetic inhibition with immunotherapy. In experimental animal models, we have examples about the combination of inhibition of the NMT1 with immunocheckpoint inhibitors, with different HDAC inhibitors, presenting very promising activities against these mechanisms of EC resistance. So in our case, we are trying to combat to pursue this strategy, in the sense that we are focusing many different epigenetic effectors, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this epigenetic complex. This epigenetic complex was initially studied in our lab for many years, and we were describing how this complex mediated by a histone methyltransferase, that is GNA, together with a DNA methyltransferase and adaptor molecule, are going to confer advantages in the ACC tumor development, and we develop an epigenetic inhibitor against this epigenetic complex, and we had the luck, and I have to happily say that the first work was mediated by Marina analyzing this epigenetic complex in hepatocellular carcinoma, but subsequently we discovered how this complex plays an important role in many other different tumors. We analyze studies in cholangiocarcinoma that is important. We also analyze how the complex was relevant in not only in the tumoral cells, but only in the hepatic stellate cells according to the fibrosis development, also in hepatoblastoma, and even in a study performed in pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma. But according to this hypothesis, what we following previous preliminary data from the previous studies, we started to focus in the histone methyltransferase GNA only because when we had preliminary data showing that the inhibition of GNA start to increase genes related with the antigen presentation machinery. So we focus specifically in this methyltransferase, and at the end what we performed was analysis on patients' cohort, and we were analyzing different signatures that has been very well described, that are predictive according to the transcriptional landscape of the immune tumor microenvironment, and this kind of signatures like the inflamed signature, IFNAC signature, Atezo-Beva response signature, are able to predict a better or poor response to these immune checkpoint inhibitors, no? In patients with hepatocellular carcinoma. What we saw was that those patients with the highest level of GNA expression was significantly decreased in those signatures that predicted the better response to immunotherapy, indicating that maybe GNA was involved in this poor response to immunotherapy. We confirmed this data in a collaboration with the group of Dr. Jovet in another different cohort of patients, and we were analyzing in detail the GNA with different immune cell markers, different cytokines, or signatures of this response to immunotherapy, and we saw effectively that this histone methyltransferase increase in those situations predictive of poor response. And in a single cell RNA analysis that Dr. Jovet has in transcriptomic data, we observed that those patients that respond to immunotherapy present lower levels of this histone methyltransferase. This data was not significant in another study cohort that those patients treated with tyrosine kinase inhibitor, indicating that effectively this histone methyltransferase can have a role in these immune evasion mechanisms or something related with it. So we started our analysis focus in different human and mouse cell lines, and what we did was to analyze the two different epigenetic inhibitors, the dual inhibitor that we mentioned previously, another specific GNA inhibitor that is ECM826C, and we observed that when we treat these ACC cell lines and try to increase the response with interferon genes, we saw a higher increase of many genes related to interferon gamma response, genes related to innate immune response, indicating that the inhibition of GNA can confer advantages in the transcriptional regulation on all of these genes exposed. To analyze in detail the mechanisms that we saw that the mark that GNA imposed in the promoter of these specific genes were decreased when we treat the cells with the GNA inhibitors. So this mark indicative of repression was decreased, indicating that maybe GNA is repressing specific genes, such as in this case the chemokine CXCL10 or proteins involved in the major histocompatibility complex, one such as HLA-A. So we also observed that when we inhibit the gene A in our tumoral cells, we saw an increase in a series of retroviral elements. These kind of retroviral elements has been described to be repressed, mediated also by epigenetic mechanisms, that are a short sequence of RNA that are not coding any gene, but when they are reactivated, maybe they can translocate to the cytoplasm and they cause a type 1 interferon response. It's like the term viral mimicry. So this kind of situation are increasing the interferon response of the tumoral cells and the visibility, like this cell to the immune system. So we confirm this process of viral mimicry, analyzing this kind of double-strand RNA that are in the cytoplasm through immunohistochemical analysis, and we confirm that gene A could be involved in the repression of these mechanisms. So the next steps were just to see if in vivo we are able to combine the gene A inhibition in experimental models with immunotherapy. So in this model, we inject ACC cells orthotopically in the liver, and we treat animals with the gene A inhibitor alone or in combination with anti-PD-1. And what we observed was a dramatic effect in anti-tumor response in those animals treated with the combination regimen in terms of liver index, tumor incidence. We also saw a decrease in the transaminases. And interestingly, what we saw was in the tumor recruitment, a highly recruitment on population T lymphocytes, CD8, and also in CD4 lymphocytes, indicated that maybe the gene A inhibition was contributed to this enhance in the anti-tumor response mediated by the immunotherapy. We repeat this experimental model in a little bit more aggressive model when we implant the ACC cells in an scenario with a previous partial hepatectomy, so the cells were growing in an inflamed milieu. So in this case, we treat with the other epigenetic inhibitor, the CN272, and we also observe a very good effect in those animals treated with the combination of the gene A inhibitor and the immunotherapy. We also, analyzing by immunohistochemical staining the population of T lymphocytes, we also see an increase in the combination group of the recruitment of CD8 T cells or even CD4 T cells. So we wanted to analyze more in detail the tumor microenvironment that was in this experimental model, and we analyzed the myeloid population. And interestingly, we observed that in those animals treated with the combination, we observed an increase in the percentage on dendritic cells, indicating that it was a higher antigen processing and presentation. We also saw a significant decrease in the population of myeloid MDSC, cells, and we also observed that the arginase 1 in the tumor-associated macrophages was decreased, involving that this gene A inhibition not only improve in the tumoral cell the visibility, but also remodels completely the tumor microenvironment. Finally, we confirmed these experiments in another third experimental model. In this case, was the hydrodynamic tailbane injection of the oncogenes MYC and beta-catenin activated that were plasmids donated by Amaya Lujambio. This experimental ACC model was very well described that is refractory to immunotherapy, and in this case we also treat with the two epigenetic inhibitors in combination with anti-PD-1, observing a potent synergistic effect in the combination, and we also, through flow cytometric analysis, confirmed the increase of these T lymphocytes, CD8 T lymphocytes, and a decrease in another immunosuppressive population that was the T regulatory population. So in this scenario, we can see how this epigenetic effector, the histone methyltransferase, maybe are involved in repress many mechanisms by the tumoral cells, such as the induction of attractive chemokines for the T lymphocytes, such as CL9 or 10, the repression of specific retroviral elements or many molecules implicated in the antigen processing and presentation, and their inhibition can constitute the change of a cold tumor into a more hot tumor that's susceptible to treat in combination with the immunocheckpoint inhibitors. So in our lab, we are very interested in know all the details of not only this epigenetic complex, but also many other epigenetic effectors, those that present more aberrant expression, or maybe those that are involved in this kind of resistance to the treatment, analyzing in detail, for example, transcriptomic data about patient responder, no responders, which are those epigenetic effectors more downregulated. And for example, this is the case, another different epigenetic that is called CAR1, that is an arginine methyltransferase that we are analyzing in detail how is changing also the characteristics of the tumoral cells and the tumor microenvironment, trying to potentiate this combination. Because we have to take on mind that when we design this kind of epigenetic inhibitor, there are many issues that you have to address. For example, are the dose, the toxicity, the selectivity. So knowing very well in detail of this behavior of the effectors between different populations, of even between different etiologies in the hepatocellular carcinoma, can add value in the development of these kind of molecules. So I would like to finish the talk, say thanks to the lab and all the entities and collaborators that are participating with us in all these studies. So thank you very much. Aspects to consider effectively, as I agree with you, in our lab, there are several important questions that we have to address. One is more knowledge that we have about every single epigenetic event that takes place. It will be really relevant in order to evaluate the efficacy in an experimental animal model. So before you try to experimental, it's good to know the implication, as we mentioned, not only the behavior in the tumoral cells, but also in every single cell that constitute the tumor microenvironment. So it's a very important question, and sometimes you can analyze in detail the behavior in the tumoral cells, and you can realize after that you are increasing the Sashtion phenotype, inhibiting this epigenetic. So it's very important to take in consideration all these aspects, every single cell and every single behavior, but for that it's very important to take advantage of this new technology with single cell RNA analysis, spatial transcriptomic, and all the knowledge that you can have, you are going to advance. Obviously, the second part is to choose very well the experimental animal model. As you say, is at the beginning you can implant the tumoral cells orthotopically in the liver, but this is not the real situation. So every new advance in the development of new experimental animal models are going to contribute to better results. So at the moment you have to take in consideration the heterogeneity of the tumor, because in this hydrodynamic Talvein injection you are adding 2 specific oncogenes, but the tumor is really heterogeneous. So take into account that this heterogeneity, not only with one mutation, but also with many other different mutations that confer different flavors to the hepatocellular carcinoma, are going to be important. And the background of the liver disease are going to be really important, because will not be the same to analyze a mice with an ACC developed in a background of MASH or alcoholic liver disease, or even with an hepatitis C virus. So obviously I think that is really relevant. The etiology matters. The etiology, so I don't know, I think that is step by step trying to increase the knowledge in all these kind of aspects, so that are really relevant. And this is because we are also very interested in analyzing detail. Although we know that it's transcriptomic data, all the single database about different cohorts of hepatocellular to try to understand which are those epigenetic effectors more altered or downregulated, and the ideal scenario will be finally with the combination of many of different aspects. Obviously, in adjuvancy with immunotherapy, I think that they make a very important role, because when you start treating the patient or the liver with immunotherapy, you are changing everything, and many mechanisms of resistance or many evasion mechanisms are taken into account and indeed are moving all this epigenetic machinery. The epigenetic events are context dependent. So when we are like comparing our analysis, for example, between different ACC cells, in many of these studies, the behavior is similar between the ACC cells. But if you are trying to understand the behavior of this epigenetic event in a T cells, you will realize that the machinery is other different outcomes. So you have to be alert, or is good to know as much as possible as these epigenetic events in every single cell type. But we know that this is like impossible, no? But sometimes the biology, I think, that acts in concert to final perform the action. In, for example, I have to talk about the experience of gene A. Gene A is acting, cooperating that the tumor progress and even evade the immune system. So what happened with this? That if you inhibit the lack about this methyltransferase is that you inhibit the gene A in the tumor cells, and you see effect in viability of tumor cells, and also see effect in this antigen presentation, no? That make the cells more visible to the immune system. But if you analyze in detail how is gene A acting in the T cells, fortunately, at least for us, you see that we have isolated T lymphocytes, and we inhibit the gene A expression in exclusively isolated T lymphocyte, and we see that these T increase their cytotoxicity. So they are going to our favor in the sense that we have to think about epigenetic therapy, no? But we have to take in consideration that because these mechanisms are governing the different aspects of each cell. So hepatocyte is a metabolic cells, but a T lymphocyte will be performing on other functions, and even the myeloid-derived suppressor cells are just to survive applying different mechanisms. So the most ideal scenario is to know how the cells behave about this kind of changes, because they are not the same, and they are not the same if we compare in different tumors. Not always is the same behavior. Both models are practically the same, but I don't know, because these cells, these HCC cells, are derived specifically from this other tail vein injection. So the PN299L cells were isolated by this model. So in all the cases, they are like immunoresistant. No? This is because we choose these cells to try to analyze in detail if we could enhance the efficacy. The difference between these two animal models was in one model you did directly inject the cells, and you can like monitor the growth of the tumor easily, no, by ultrasound, and maybe the model is like faster, no, but the other is just like a matter to generate the tumor with the overexpression of these oncogenes, and although the development is also very fast, is like analyze more in detail how it's changing the tumor microenvironment, but we need to increase the repertoire of different experimental animal models just to see if they are like extensive to all of them or not. know regarding to hepatocellular carcinoma, but it has been very well studied the hereditability of this kind of epigenetic transmission between generations in other different aspects, for example, in MARS-LD and all these metabolic changes. What you do can have consequences to your descendants, to the offspring, and there are many different beautiful studies when mothers fed with a high-fat diet. Now they imprint specific epigenetic marks in the DNA of the offspring, and they are more susceptible to the acquisition of metabolic syndrome, or even the offspring are fed with the high-fat diet, the susceptibility to develop the MARS-LD increase, or even with the fibrosis studies. So there are beautiful studies in that sense. In the case of hepatocellular carcinoma, unfortunately, probably there are not, or I don't know, but it's true that the marks that are impinged in the mother or even in the father are transmitted, specific marks are transmitted to the next generations. This is because they are inheritance mechanisms, and what you do can have consequences. That's very beautiful studies about that.
Okay, thank you.
Don't know how to answer. In our experience, there are many evidences, but it's not the ideal scenario that you treat with the epigenetic inhibitors. You are starting to change the transcriptional landscape of the tumor, and sometimes they are more susceptible to the second attack. But in the other way, when the tumor is well established, the tumor has developed specific mechanisms that can be blocked with the inhibition of GNA. So according to this, we need more studies to address that. The good point is that when you treat the cells or the experimental animal models, or even in the theoretical case of a patient with these inhibitors, they are safe, they are not toxic. So at the beginning, if you start treating, you can change the landscape, but we also change in a very well established tumor. So we have to address many more studies to say something in the sense of what's interesting to discover that the epigenetic complex at the beginning, when at the beginning started our analysis, we observed that the tumoral hepatic HCC tumoral cells, the changes performed with we inhibit the complex was metabolic reprogramming. And we also wanted to extend these studies to the hepatic stellar cells. At the beginning, we thought that these changes in metabolic reprogramming were not going to occur, but however, the hepatic stellar cells changed completely the metabolism, and we were able to see how the block of this epigenetic inhibitor revert the fibrosis, block the activation of the hepatic stellar cells, so having important consequences in the fibrotic development. We could perform how this GNA inhibition is involved, and now we are analyzing specifically the CAPs, and we see that the phenotype is pretty similar. We stop the activation of this fibroblast.
And thank you also for contributing with some questions, and thanks for the audience that is live here. Thank you for both the speakers from today, and we will summarize tomorrow with another 2 talks. Thank you, and see you tomorrow.